everyone. Thank you so much for watching our program on identity, our shorts program on identity. I have our lovely filmmakers here with us. And so if all of you, whoever wants to go first, if you can introduce yourself and your film, and then we'll get started on some questions. Don't all go at once.
I can go first.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Yasmin Evering. I'm the filmmaker of The Onyx Butterfly. Pretty much The Onyx Butterfly is about a Black male ballet dancer and kind of his struggles, as well as, his struggles of being in a very white and feminine space like ballet. So yeah, that's The Onyx Butterfly.
Excellent. Olivia, would you be able to go?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Olivia Willock. I am from Kaintuk, Nunavik, and I'm wearing my culture, which is video to showcase the beautiful traditional clothing that Inuit from my community makes.
Excellent. Durani?
Yeah, I'll go. My name is Duran Iguessa. I'm the writer and director of a short film called The Sky's Blue Kaltoum, which is essentially a coming-of-age story about a young girl who, after having a really negative experience with some peers at her school, she kind of has to decide how she wants to approach kind of handling conflict and consolidating all this conflicting advice she's been getting from her parents, from her family, and from the students and peers at her school.
Excellent. And last but not least, Amanda, please introduce your film and let us know about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Amanda, also a filmmaker. My film is called An Object of Merit, and but it asks the question, what makes an ordinary bowl beautiful? Like, is it art? Is it craft? So it features a ceramic artist who's Korean-Canadian. His name is Min Jae Lee. He's actually now in Korea, starting his own studio, which is amazing. And so it's a documentary exploring his influences, sort of like the Korean and the Canadian side on his functional wares.
Excellent. So I guess I'll just dive into it. I'll start with Olivia. So I was really taken aback by the score, and also just how you were able to so succinctly share something that I did not know about Indigenous culture through means of your clothing, or how the people that you have grown up with, where their culture. And so can you talk to us about how the idea of the film came to you?
Yes, I decided to make this film when I went back to live in my community after many years living in Montreal, and noticing in Montreal, when we're outside in the metro or somewhere else, everyone's wearing plain black winter coats. And when I go up north, there's so many different types of winter clothing, and all varies from different personalities of the traditional, but they also really like to mix it with contemporary stuff or what is trendy. And also growing up, seeing my grandmother, my aunts, and my mother making clothing all the time, and it's so beautiful and unique. And also, it's not just making clothes, it's a knowledge that has been passed down from a generation to a generation. And it shows kind of like their circle of relationship, family, the man that hunts for the family, and the woman that's going to keep their family warm by making them clothes. And I find it so beautiful, and I wanted to showcase that clothing that is not only beautiful but also essential and shows a lot about our culture and our relationships.
Oh wow. One of the things that I loved about your film, it's so poignant. In 4 minutes, you managed to make such an interesting and poignant comment about the relationships that exist between yourself and your culture, and the culture and clothing. And so I really loved it, and I'm so happy that you're here. And so I'm going to move on to Durrani. I'm a big fan of all of you, but I loved your film. It's a wonderful take on a coming of age tale. As a director, because I'm also a film nerd, so as a director, from a technical standpoint, can you talk about your process, like where you started in pre-production, or like was it about was this story about casting, or was there a specific location? I know that language also does play a factor in this film. So can you talk about just your process as a director and taking it upon yourself to make this film?
Yeah, absolutely. So the film, kind of the genesis of it was, it's actually based on a true story. And the first AD of the actual film project, she had shared, the story of something that happened to her when she was a child. But in her telling the story, it wasn't something that was kind of marked with like pain and trauma. She kind of, retold the story in a super like humorous note. And something that she had clearly like reflected on, thought about, and kind of had, grown from. So I wanted to, incorporate elements of her story and kind of like develop it a little bit further. And so as I was writing the story, I really thought about the background of the character and how, cultural nuances could be brought to the story. And so I ended up deciding to, include, language elements from my own cultural language. I speak Afan Oromo. It's a cultural language of an ethnic group in Ethiopia, the Oromo people. And so it's always really important for me to like have my work reflect something that's like specific to me, something that's quite important and significant to me. And so I decided to start from that place of, wanting to include an Oromo cast, an Oromo actor for the role of, Keltoon's mother. I searched for quite a long time. Casting was definitely one of the earliest steps in pre-production outside of, finding the perfect location, because as you know from seeing the story, that soccer field was like a very important element. And so we spent a lot of time looking for like soccer fields in the city, and there are quite a bit. So we did spend a few months like going to different locations and seeing how it made us, feel, and how it could enhance the visual language of our story. But essentially casting was the, heart of how we were going to tell the story and tell it most successfully. I ended up actually casting my own mother to be in my project. So she's the main character. And, it wasn't just an option of like, of what's available to me. It was genuinely a thing of, I do believe that my mom's an amazing actress, even though she wouldn't probably describe herself as one. And so in, casting her and working with her for our principal photography, our shoot days, I really had to, explain to her, like, you have a wealth of experiences, and even though you haven't been formally trained as an actor, there's definitely something that you can tap into and pull out of and draw from, and she was able to do that completely. So it's definitely one of my highlights of the film, working with my own mom, and two, it's if you've watched it, you'll see her performance really does shine through.
It does.
Yeah.
And also just to comment, like, that one of the things that I really like is like, how does the filmmaker use the language of film in order to arc their story, not only relying on the words that are said within the film. And so one of the lovely things about your film toward the end was when your protagonist gets up on the soccer field, and I feel like there's a shot from underneath her looking up at her, and I was like, it's interesting because I feel like we also spend a lot of time with her looking down at her at the beginning when she's sitting on the grass, and so it was really nice to see the arc complete. A really heartwarming story, really. So moving on to Amanda, I'm just curious about I loved your film because really, not to deduce it to something to oversimplify, but it's about a bowl, or not a bowl, but about a person's connection to making bowls. And so I'm just curious about your favorite thing or directorial choice, camera move, story beat, like your favorite thing about the film, or the thing that you're most proud of that you managed to like draw out of the story as you were making your film.
This is a hard question because there are a lot of things I really love. It's very hard. It's like picking your favorite child kind of thing. But well, thank you for liking the film. I think it's interesting that you say it's about a bowl, because yeah, it is about a bowl. The film is called An Object of Merit. Is the bowl an object of merit? Is it, of art? Is it of worth? And what does that mean to you as someone, you go to museums and you look at art that you can't touch, but what does that mean as its sort of tangible sense in a everyday bowl that you use, and that becomes art to you in utility. And in that kind of way, I wanted to sort of play it as, it's someone sort of discovering their own purpose as well. So it's not just like purpose of the object of the bowl that he creates. It's also asking yourself, am I something of merit, right? Like, am I an artist of merit? So to do that, I think, so Min Jae, who I featured in the documentary, is lovely, lovely man. Just like the most like lovely artist you can think of, who's just, his energy is just very like calming, like when you look at a still life, that's what it felt like. And so I very much wanted all the shots of the film to be static. The camera never moves. It's like never handheld or steady cam or which you get in other documentaries. Like I wanted everything to sort of reflect the style of his pottery and look very sort of static, still, peaceful, beautiful. And I know docs don't usually have production designers, but my friend Alicia K. Harris production designed this doc for me. Like it's like a production design doc because we wanted to make it look so beautiful. So I think for me, like the combination of like static, still, like beautiful shots shot by my cinematographer Benjamin Wong, and then combined with Alicia's like production design to make everything reflect that sort of peacefulness.
It really does shine through. And also like when you like object, like this sounds like this goes without saying, but objects don't move, and like in a way, because it's so still, the film is so still, it definitely for me is like a slow burn because it's so still. And I just in my head I picture clay vases and that kind of vases and that kind of thing, because they sit and they're statuesque, and I kind of got that feeling from your film, like this peaceful statuesque kind of, like it really does, those choices do shine through.
Thank you so much.
Of course, no, it was brilliant. And then last but definitely not least, Yasmin. So I liked your film because of like the way that you arced the documentary, specifically with how you made a comment on masculinity and Blackness and their intersections. So I'm curious about what you wanted to say with your film, or what opinion of the world you wanted to offer. Like what opinion did you want to offer to the world with your film? So yeah.
Thanks for the question. I think that like for me, so I have a 3-year-old nephew, and I find that since he's been born, he has kind of shaped the way that I want to be as a filmmaker and the things that I want to create. And I felt like with this film, him being a Black male, I wanted to make sure that he has, I guess, role models, but he has more films that show that he could be anything he wants, and that like Black masculinity comes in a variety of ways. And I felt like Jordan really showed that, especially at the end of the film, kind of him just talking about how there's no one way to be Black and masculine. So like that was very much what I wanted to say, is that like for any young Black boys and young Black girls, that they could be anything that they want, anything that they desire, and that like there's no one way to be Black. So yeah.
Love it. I guess, okay, so then I guess I still have some time left. So I really am curious, Olivia, about the score of your film. Can you tell us more about the genesis and like how that came to be? It really does, it slaps. Like, so can you tell us about how you created it, or like did you hear it in your head, or like just if you can just like and also like the pairing of the imagery in your film with the music. Can you just talk about the music?
Yeah, I think it just came naturally. In my life in general, I really like to film details, some small details of all different kind of stuff, and I wanted to film all the like in the sealskin mitts, all the details of the beadwork or the crochet from the hats or all different clothing, and I wanted to showcase that as well as the different people from my community. to show like how diverse it is, even though like we are often like put in the same basket that we look all kind of alike when we don't. And for the music, both of my cousins, they throat sing, but they also add some beatboxing in it.
Yeah.
So when they asked me what music I wanted to have, of course, I thought of them at first, because I really love how they mix traditional with something modern. So I think it goes well with everything that goes with the film. So yeah, that's how it came to be.
Oh, it's brilliant. I like still remember watching it for the first time, being like, yeah, like yeah. And I hate to make the reference, because I feel like everyone knows who A Tribe Called Quest was, but I was like, but I was like, did they make this? Did they make the score? So I was really really taken aback by the music, and also just like how you've contemporized, I guess. I don't want to say change my own understanding of what I understand of people that live in the North. However, I really liked the way that you contemporized and made it specific to your experience. And pride was the biggest thing. I think all of us as POCs can probably like the idea of trauma porn, watching things that are traumatic about our people, and just being sick of seeing depictions of people that look like you, like on drugs or as a crackhead or this or that, and being like, there are good parts to us as well. Let's see these, because it's not right for white folks or like people who other us to just think about us as people that are always in trouble. And I think that you did a really lovely job of highlighting the beauty that exists within your cult. I loved it. Anyway, that's my last minute. So I wanted to thank all of you so much for being here. Short and sweet. I wish I could sit and chat with all of you for an hour and really go in depth. But your films are brilliant. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll give you guys maybe like 30 seconds to, if any of you want to shout out or say thank you to anybody that's assisted you in getting to this point, feel free to, please. Durrani, please start.
Well, obviously, I'd love to thank, my producer, Nikita Adani, and my key creatives. Jean-Luc Monez was our wonderful director of photography, and if you watch the film, you'll definitely see how beautiful the cinematography is. And again, my production designer, Ali Karpis, those people were definitely instrumental in the making of this film. And a special shout out to Rosina Ferretti, who plays the main character, Keltum, and definitely breathes such beautiful life into the project. So thank you to you all.
Olivia, any special thanks you'd want to share?
Of course, I would like to thank all the team of Wapikoni, but I also want to just say, like what you said about seeing our people die online. I cannot stop thinking, like yesterday, an indigenous woman died when she went to the hospital in Joliet screaming for help, and she didn't have. They give her morphine when she's not supposed to because of her heart, and she died yesterday. And the nurse said very racist stuff. So I'm also very proud of all the women in my videos and how they're so strong. But it's also very scary that still today, like, I don't know, we never know, like these women that I love so much, when they're going to go out the hospital, are they going to be treated well?
Of course.
So I think all Indigenous people right now in Canada are in shock with what's happening, and I just wanted to share with that, because we're so proud of our cultures, but it's also very hard every day for us to just stand and be proud when there's such hard things like that are happening.
Mm-hmm. Of course. And thank you so much for saying that and for sharing and for being so open. I feel like, especially because I would feel like all of us identify as women or fluid individuals, that especially as being a POC, like it is heartbreaking to see people that look like you essentially not matter, for lack of a better phrase. Thank you, Olivia, for sharing. And I will say, mirroring what you said, like the whole Breonna, like when the verdict for Breonna Taylor like had come out, I wasn't okay. I just remember sitting in front of my computer and trying to type an email, and I couldn't do it. Because it's like that the person's just like me. And then and when you say that, like, this Indigenous woman was going to get help, and the people who are supposed to help her didn't help her, yeah, that hurts, and you feel it. And I'm sure everyone here feels it as well.
We are the majority culture in Ethiopia, but our language is not recognized as a national language. You can be like penalized and persecuted for speaking your language in your country. And so just the global Indigenous struggles are just so important to talk about and to bring to the forefront of like our, you know, anti-oppressive work, because it's just one of the biggest traumas and one of the biggest terrors is just the erasure of Indigenous people worldwide. And just you making art and you waking up every day, Olivia, is a gift, and it is a battle, and it is a fight. So thank you. I see you, and keep pushing.
Please.
Yeah.
Just jumping off of Durani's point, I feel like we all forget the transformative power of art. When a person that does not understand your experience watches something, it can change their mind. And I know it might feel like an uphill battle, because it is, but even just you coming on here and speaking about the beauty of your culture, and then also sharing how heavy that has been on your heart for this morning, it will speak volumes, and it will force people watching to stop and think for real, I think. Unbeknownst to many of you, and I'll wrap this up shortly because I'm sure you all have things to do, but I specifically, with regards to Indigenous stories, like all of my general conceit is that POCs don't have the support to make the films that they want in the ways that they can be seen. The work is not there. Finding films, feature film directed by Black people, difficult. Feature film directed by POCs, difficult. Finding feature films directed by Indigenous people, difficult. Finding shorts directed by Indigenous people, very difficult. I personally emailed every film festival in the country trying to find Indigenous creators, because the invisibility is what I personally feel like, and Olivia, you can tell me if you think this conceit is wrong, but I personally feel like there's nothing more scary. We are, by not assisting creators in telling their stories, we are complicit in their erasure and making them invisible. And so I'm just really thankful to have all of you here. And I'll wrap it up. And also, Olivia, you have my number, so feel free to call me, and I'm probably going to call you after this. But if anyone else has anything else to say, I think we can wrap it up. But just thank you all for being here, and thank you, Durani, for sharing as well.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Olivia, I just wanted to say, thank you for sharing everything that you said today. I'm just gonna go, and I'm just trying not to be very emotional, because this is very, I just wanted to thank you for saying all of that in the Q&A, because I think it's very important for a lot of people to say. And as much as we as filmmakers and we as people who are active in our community try to raise and voices and concerns, I feel like a great number of people are still trying to ignore that. So as much of this sort of platform that we have to talk about this thing, I'm very, very you move me, and I just thank you very much for bringing that up. And we're here for you, and we're here to if you want to talk to me too after as well, I can put my email in.
Yes, and a community of creators as well. I'm going to try and get you guys to share your films with each other. And if you wanted to watch the screeners, it'd be great. Because even if it might not be emotional support, it might be like, hey, I have an idea for a film, question about this. So, Yasmin, did you have anything to say?
No, I agree with everything that everyone has said. Thanks, Olivia, for sharing what you've shared. And definitely, if you want to reach out to talk about anything, definitely. But yeah.
Not alone. Not alone. It is very much so. Women's rights in general, people that are not white males, we are under attack, and so we all see you and we feel you. I'll let you all go. So thank you so much for being here. And do you want us to stay for a bit and chat? Because I do think it's important to close our conversation. However, I do have to wrap up the talk back. So I would say, Yasmin, if you can say your thank yous as well as Amanda, but all of you please stay just so we can kind of wrap the conversation because it is important. Thank you, Olivia.
Well, I just would like to, I would like to thank Ona Sadhu, who is my producer, amazing producer, as well as Gaddy and Allison Duke, who were my mentors during this. And then I also want to shout out Lucas Joseph, who was my cinematographer, who did a great job on the film. Obviously Jordan, but yeah, that's the people that I do want to shout out.
Amanda?
I want to thank Min Jae Lee, who's the subject of the documentary, at Min Jae Pottery on Instagram, if you want to check out his work. Gleason Brook Pottery, where we filmed a lot of the scenes with his mentor, Timothy Smith, and as well as another Japanese-Canadian potter named Chris Sora in St. Catharines. And thank you to my cinematographer, Benjamin Wong, production designer, Alicia K. Harris, sound recordist and designer, Alana Raymond, first AC gaffer, Alexandra C., and we had someone come out to do BTS photography and help us PA as well, Jesse Marcelo Sarkis. I'm trying to think of, and our composer, our amazing composer, Hedon Rosa Kim, who's also in Korea right now.
Thank you. So I think in closing, I'd like to say that, like, and Olivia did highlight it, as specifically Indigenous people, also Black people, but in general, POCs are under attack. And the fact that you've all made it to get up out of bed, eat breakfast, and get in front of your computers to chat with me speaks volumes, because it is not okay what is happening. And it is really hard to do anything when you're walking around with a heavy heart, especially make art. So thank you. So thank you so much for watching our talk back. And I hope that all of you viewing at home realize that these stories are real and that these people that made these stories, our lives matter. That's the best way to put it. So I'm going to close that. Thank you guys for watching.